Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday at 5:05, and as you can tell, I am not in my office. I'm standing in front of my beautiful Hawaii picture that is behind me now, but I am at DMA Crestview at our imaging center. And this machine behind me is called a DEXA scan. You've probably seen advertisement for it at the clinic, and it's a type of body composition. So you're going to watch me get a DEXA scan, which I've had one of these before, and I'll be able to compare this to my last reading. And then while we're doing that, I'm going to be talking with Caleb. Caleb is one of our lovely, you're not a tech, are you? What's your?
Imaging supervisor.
Imaging supervisor. Ooh, I got the supervisor today. That's right. So, but he's going to be running my scan. He's going to be kind of asking me questions about what a DEXA scan is. He's also going to be my memory because there's no way I'm going to remember all that information that I have on my cheat sheet for him, and I can't read it while I'm laying there. But so you can see what the process looks like, see how long it takes, and then find out if this is a test that you would like to have, because I think that's got some great benefits, especially if you're on a health journey. So I'm going to go ahead and lay down and get this started, and then Caleb is going to start asking me some questions and talking with me and jogging my memory. So here we go. Our table's very comfortable, but I have like kind of still, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm in a position. Kind of bring your thumbs up side of you and in just a little. There you go.
Probably going to hear some noise, but that's just the machine working. Trust me, it's not hurting me at all. Might take a nap though.
And I do want to say this machine is GE. It's a Lunar Prodigy, and we have had this machine a little less than 2 years now. And this total body software comp that we've had not quite a year yet. So still getting used to all the ins and outs that it can do.
So if you've ever had a bone density scan, so if you're like a lady, a postmenopausal lady, and you've had a bone scan, this is the same machine that you would do that on. All right, Caleb, whenever you're ready, read me off questions. Let's get going.
Let me let this get past your...
Oh, my face?
Yes, your face, so we're not talking during it.
Oh, I'm going to quit talking, guys. You know that's hard for me.
Almost there. Alright, so I think you told them this is the same machine that performs the regular bone density scan that we do a lot for osteoporosis, osteopenia, but you want to tell them what DEXA stands for?
Yeah, so DEXA is a dual energy X-ray, what's that last word? That's a funky word.
Absorptiometry?
Yeah, it's a big fancy word. Basically, sends X-ray waves through you is what it means.
Alright, so how does that work?
So as this little X-ray is kind of passing through, it's putting an image on a plate below, and it shows a different color or density for like fat, bone, fluid, things of that nature.
Yep, so the low energy X-ray beam, and as it goes through, it creates the image for each thickness part of your body, so it can be measured through that.
Yeah.
Alright, what about the radiation exposure?
There is a little bit of radiation exposure, but it's very, very mild. It's not comparable to getting a plain film X-ray, like if you break your arm or you're having a joint looked at. It's about the same amount of X-ray exposure.
Yes, it is very low because, I mean, us as the tech can sit in the room right beside of the patient while they're getting scanned. And we wear our radiation monitor badge continuously, and we rarely have readings on it from anything that we do. So,
yeah.
So what is the purpose of a DEXA?
So the main purpose of a DEXA is to get a very accurate measurement of your body fat and your muscle mass. It also can just kind of give you an idea if you're in a healthy range or not in a healthy range. Because some people look like they are in a healthy range, and it turns out they're not.
What about how does a DEXA compare to other body composition measurements?
Yes, so if you've been in my office, you've seen my fancy scale. We like to call her fancy. She's called a bioimpedance scale. There's a couple other different types of measurements that you can get body composition with. One is an MRI, body calipers, and the other one is a displacement of air or water. So when you're looking at DEXA scan, it's fairly accurate. Your MRI is your most accurate, it's like your gold standard, but MRI is pretty expensive and it takes a little bit more, well, a lot more time than a DEXA scan if you're doing your whole body. The water displacement or air displacement, it takes up a whole huge room, or a tank of water takes up a lot of space. It's basically you're seeing how much air or water you displace. It's only used in research really because it's just not practical. Plus you have to hold your breath a really long time to get that measurement. Think about holding your breath for up to 2 minutes at a time, and the average person can't really do that. It's only used in research. The calipers, it's like where you take these things that pinch your skin, and it's pinching the fat, and you take measurements. They're quite inaccurate. They're readily available. They're cheap, but very inaccurate. So the DEXA scan falls in between the MRI and the bioimpedance for what I do in my office. The bioimpedance is when you step on it, it sends a little electrical current through your body, and the speed at which it goes through tells you whether it's moving through water, fat, or muscle. So DEXA is more accurate than my bioimpedance. Takes more time, takes a little bit more space, but very accurate.
So I think she mentioned, but the DEXA scan kind of falls in between the MRI and the bioimpedance in accuracy and cost.
Yeah, that is true. The cost thing as well. Yeah, MRI is super expensive.
So what about, can you do multiple types of body composition tests?
You can do multiple types, but you can only compare one thing to itself. So you can compare the DEXA scan to the DEXA scan, the bioimpedance to the bioimpedance. And that's mainly just kind of like when you're weighing on your home scale versus an office scale. If you're trying to assess a change in your muscle mass or fat mass, then you want to compare the same machine to itself and not to a different one, because they're going to read out a little different.
And we'll touch on this more at the end, but I think our recommendation from our standpoint as a practice is to get the 2 scans for comparison. So we'll have an initial base scan where you'll get your first readings, and then after that we recommend a follow-up scan that we'll, like I said, touch on at the end.
Yeah.
So she has finished. You're finished.
I'm finished. I can move?
You can move.
Okay. That also means I can pick up my notes, guys. Isn't that awesome?
Very simple.
So you see, it didn't take but just a few minutes. It was rapid, painless. You actually got to lay down, could potentially take a little bit of a nap there. How far did we get down?
Why would someone want to get a DEXA body scan?
Yeah, so there's a couple different reasons why you might want to get a DEXA scan. The first one is just if you're curious, if you want to know exactly where you stand with your body composition, your muscle mass, things like that. It could be very helpful if someone has a higher weight because of their muscle mass and throws their body mass index off. So if you're applying for life insurance or health insurance and it looks like you're in the obese category, but turns out you have a higher muscle mass, this machine would be able to tell you that and prove to the insurance company and the life insurance that you are not overweight or over fat would be a better way to put that. If you are a lifter, somebody that's in the gym and you're trying to get some gains and you're changing up your routine and want to assess the difference from before the change and after the change to see if it's really effective, if that's a routine that you want to keep up, that's it. But my main time that I recommend this is, say you're going to start a big health journey, like you're going to start a journey with us or some other journey, Weight Watchers, whatever it is you choose is right for you. You could do one of these scans first and then reassess in 6 to 12 months just to show that what you're doing is working. Because honestly, if you do something for 6 months or 12 months and it's not working for you, then it's not something you should continue to do. You should change up your routine with that a little bit.
So what are the main measures or data points of the DEXA?
Yeah, so the very first thing when you get your report, you're going to see a breakdown of where the body fat is compared to your arms, your legs, your torso, and see a good percentage of that body fat. And that's the main point. You're also going to be able to tell the different types of body fat, android versus gynoid, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. So the next thing we're going to run through is just kind of the main highlights that you're going to see on the report. The first one is your lean mass, and this is going to be all parts of your body except for the fat tissue. So it's going to contain your organs, it's going to contain your bones, it's going to contain the fluids that's in there. And I will say that is one difference between the bioimpedance and the DEXA scan. When you're in the bioimpedance, it can truly tell you the difference in your hydration, your fluid status. In the DEXA scan, it puts your fluid and your lean mass total that's there. The biggest point that it tells you, though, is that total body fat percentage. And that's going to be different for men and women on what is best. So women, it's typically between 21% and 33%. Men between 8 and 21% is considered normal. The younger you are, the lower that body fat should be, because as we age, we need a little bit more body fat to protect our bones from breakdown and things like that. Now, body fat percentage is way better than BMI at telling if you are obese or over fat that's there. Now, there's another measurement specific to body fat on this DEXA scan machine. Is android versus gynecoid ratio, and that's a lot of words, but basically it's whether it's telling you have an apple-shaped body or a pear-shaped body. And it describes where the body fat is stored. So if you have an android body, you have more of an apple-shaped. And an apple-shaped is when you have more fat around the stomach. That is generally considered a less healthy place to store body fat. Those people tend to have more visceral fat, which is the fat inside the liver and inside the organs, that kind of thing. Gynoid is the shape where you're more of a pear-shaped body and you carry more of your fat around the hips. And most people think of this is like the voluptuous woman type shape, where we've got nice curves around our hips, but a skinny waist. So a larger number of this ratio, android to gynoid, it means the less unhealthy. So if you are a woman, you want that to be less than 0.8. A man, you want it to be less than 1. One cool thing about this machine is that, we said it does what we're doing for bone density. So if you're coming in to get your body fat measured, you also get a bone density measurement, which is not something you typically get until you are older or until you've had multiple broken bones or been diagnosed with a condition that would mean that you need to have that measured. And, there are two measurements we look at, a Z-score and a T-score. A Z-score is comparing your bone density to people who are similar age as you and a similar body size. And so you want that to be between a certain range, and I won't get into necessarily the details because you're not necessarily going to remember those. The other one's a T-score, and the T-score is comparing your bone density to someone who is roughly 30 years of age, which is considered kind of the top of where our bone density is, and we start losing bone after that. It's kind of scary to think we start losing bone at age 30 because, well, I'm well past 30 at this point, but yeah, it compares you in those. So you get I won't say it's free, you're paying for it, but it's an extra added thing that's not telling about your fat mass, but it's very indicative of your health. This machine also estimates your resting metabolic rate. Our bioimpedance does this, and we also use we call it the slobber monster machine in our office, where you're measuring through the breathing. And the resting metabolic rate is about how many calories it takes to keep your body even, to not gain, to not lose. And I'm not huge about calories, but calories can matter because you can overindulge in things. And so this takes a correlation between your fat and your lean mass and what it would take to keep you right there, and gives you an idea. And it's considered ideal. It's not perfect, it's not spot on, but it is ideal. The last measurement I want to talk about, and this one is one that's probably the most important to me, second to the just total body fat, and it's called the Relative Skeletal Muscle Index, or RSMI. And it represents the amount of muscle in your arms and in your legs compared against your height. So if you've ever heard of a condition called sarcopenia, which is basically the loss of muscle in your limbs. So imagine someone who has very, very, very thin arms and legs and kind of a big belly. That's a condition that is indicative of poor health, specifically poor metabolic health, increased risk of malnutrition, specifically protein. So if you have sarcopenia, meaning that your ratio shows that you have less muscle mass in your limbs compared to your height. And for women, that would be if you want to be over 7.26. For men, you want to be, nope, I did that backwards. Men over 7.26, women over 5.45. If you're not over those, that means you're protein deficient and you need to wrap it up, rank up your protein, or you're going to start losing even more of your muscle mass. And that condition, if you develop sarcopenia, your risk of falls and fractures and poor health long-term as you're aging increases dramatically. So those are kind of the measurements. So let's talk for a minute, Caleb, about just getting the results and things like that. So if you are my patient, your results are automatically going to come to me. If you have a provider that wants to order the test, they can call and order the test and the results will go to them to read. If you don't have a provider to order the test and read it for you, guess who the results are going to come to? me. And then you're going to get a free little markup on your report from, well, not free, you pay for it, I guess. You know, I'm just going to do it for you, even though you're not my patient. I'll give you my recommendations, my evaluation on your report, and then my office will be sending you those results. So if you don't have a provider, don't sweat it. You can still have this test and get your results. Let's see, what else do we need to tell them?
We'll talk about the cost of it.
Yeah, cost. So we have two different ways, or two different costs. There's the single test, and then you can do 2 tests at one time and pay for it all at once. So a single test is $75. If you purchase 2 tests up front, meaning one for now and one to assess later, it's $125. Now, DMA has been amazing with their pricing on this, because if you go to some of the places in Nashville that have this, you can pay up to double of what you're paying here at DMA. In fact, we have a couple people that have come in from, say, Nashville to have the test done here just because of the cost savings that's there. So if you pay up front, it's $125, saving you $25 on the cost of 2 different tests. So tell us, how would someone schedule this?
So to schedule this test, you'll just call our imaging scheduling line that hopefully she will include in the Facebook post on this.
Yeah, for sure.
Just call, schedule an appointment. Make sure that you indicate when you're scheduling that you want the total body scan for the bone density, not just the regular bone density that we discussed earlier. Just make sure you indicate total body, and we'll put that on your appointment, and then we'll ask you in the beginning if you want to do the 1 scan, that's $75 like she mentioned, or 2 scans, that would be $125 up front. And then however long after that, I mean, what do you recommend?
Yeah, somewhere between 6 and 12 months after that. So if they call and say, I want a body composition, are the front desk going to know what they're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, so just keep it pretty simple and tell them you want a body composition scan, and they'll know exactly what you're talking about. And I will put the number on this post so that you can know how to get in touch with them and schedule that. Any special preparations that people need to do for this scan? Like, do they need, fast? Do they need to wear certain type of clothing? What needs to happen?
No fasting. I mean, we just recommend wearing comfy clothes, kind of like you have on today. The less metal, the better. Try to avoid zippers. If you have a bra without metal in it, try to wear that. Try to not wear jewelry, things like that. Just keep it pretty simple, comfy, and easier for everyone. We'll accommodate however you come in. We have gowns and paper shorts that are lovely that you can wear. So
don't be the paper shorts, people. Don't be the paper shorts. But yeah, seriously, just come in relaxed clothing, and you can set your jewelry down if you feel naked without your jewelry, and then put it back on, because I know I really don't like not wearing my jewelry. I feel naked without it. So all right, so no special preparations. We're going to tell you how to schedule it. I hope this was informative and you saw it was quick and easy, and it gives you some really great information. If I like my results, I may post them for you guys, but you're probably not going to see mine. All right, until next week, see you then.